Revolutionaries, hey, I'm excited to bring you this week's episode with the dynamic duo of Chris and Eric Martinez. You're going to love these guys, but I tell you what, you're going to be super jealous of their eyebrows. Yeah, their eyebrows. I'm not kidding. They have the best eyebrows in the business, I swear. But before we get to the episode, you know we're coming off of Memorial Day weekend, a long 3-day weekend here in the United States called Memorial Day. If you're not familiar with it, where we remember people that have died in service to our country, in the military. So hopefully everyone had a nice 3-day weekend and was able to focus on, their family and their military family, if they had anyone that passed. But also had a good time, because it's kind of the unofficial kickoff to summer here in the U.S., where everybody gets together and grills out. So it's like the kickoff to grilling season, and everybody gets together and has, hamburgers and hot dogs or sausages or kielbasa or something on the grill, and, potato salad and watermelon and maybe like pie for dessert, apple pie or something like that. So everybody gets together and has like a big meal. And the reason I mentioned it, it reminded me of a reinvention revelation that I wanted to share. And yes, I just made that up, reinvention revelation. But I didn't make this up. I've been doing this for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years now. And that when a holiday rolls around now, I'm taking that opportunity to change up my diet, to flip the script on my diet and how I think about the holiday. So when a holiday comes around now, I take that opportunity to prepare a meal and eat better than I normally do the rest of the year, okay, or the rest of the other days of the year. So I go out of my way to eat something healthy, usually vegetarian, and just kind of break my cycle of poor eating if I'm in that cycle. So yesterday what did I have? I had a sweet potato with lentils and black beans and kidney beans and a little bit of sour cream on the side. And I'll tell you what, it was delicious, fabulous. It was great. Made me feel great. And also kind of put me in a nice frame of mind. You feel good about yourself when you know you can change your behavior and do something good for yourself. So it really does, really kind of improves your mindset at the same time. We're inundated, it feels like every other month, with some holiday or big sporting event after big sporting event, especially here in the U.S., reasons to celebrate and to indulge. And I just find lately, finding a reason to not indulge can oftentimes be just as fun and better for your lifestyle. So anyways, I just wanted to share that. Look, I know it sounds a little crazy. It's probably a little crazy, but hey, it's the reinvention revolution. So there you go. That's just where I'm at. And the reason I mention it is that this week's episode with Chris and Eric Martinez, these guys are a dynamic duo that are trainers. They're personal trainers, and a big part of personal training is working on your diet. And these guys have a great mindset, a great business mindset. And now these guys have turned their personal training business into a coaching business for personal trainers. So I know you guys are going to love this episode, so let's get right to it.
Welcome to Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast, the show that explores reinvention in the digital age as it relates to career, creativity, and technology. Stay tuned for interviews with professionals, entrepreneurs, and creatives that have reimagined success and are making a pivot. If you'd like to listen to the entire back catalog, visit jimreinventionrevolution.com for instant access. And now, here's your host, Jim.
Hey everybody, this is Jim, and welcome to episode 30 of Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast. And I'm talking today with the dynamic duo of Chris and Eric Martinez, and we're talking about the business of personal training. So, Chris, Eric, welcome to the revolution.
Jim, thank you so much for having us. We are excited about this interview. And for the listeners, in case they don't know, we are identical twins. So there's two of us standing behind a mic, and our eyebrows are ginormous.
Oh, I love that, man. Well, thanks for pointing that out to everybody, because you guys are so unique. And you know what? When I was preparing for this podcast interview, it took me back to how we met. So I was thinking about Podfest, when we ran into each other. So we were there for this podcast conference called Podfest. And I remember, I think it was like maybe the I don't know, one of the second or third nights where everybody, it was kind of towards the end of the conference, and everybody was out on the patio, and this is down in Orlando, Florida. So we were hanging out, people have had a beer or two and just talking. And I remember us connecting, and really talking intensely for, like a half hour, 45 minutes about how the world's changing and different technologies and business. And I kept looking at you guys, and it's kind of like a surreal experience because there's two of you guys that look alike. and everything we talked about, I thought, wow, these guys seem like really good business people. Oh, interesting. Okay. Wow, they have a really good understanding of technology. Oh, they're podcasting too. And they're in shape. Wow, these guys are really in shape, and they're doing personal training, and they look good, and they have amazing eyebrows, and they have like beautiful dark hair. These guys are like gorgeous. Like these guys are more handsome than I am. That's what I was just joking. But seriously, I'm thinking like these guys are better at business, better at mindset, because you guys have an amazing mindset. You're in shape, and I was just like, these guys are killing it. And I was like, wow, I was really impressed. Anyways, that was my point. That was my point. Why I remembered that, just thinking that while I was talking. Maybe I shouldn't have shared that with you guys, but.
No, we appreciate that. And I remember too, like, I remember that conversation was like yesterday, and it's like we were having like a couple glasses of wine, a couple beers, and just good conversation all around. And we just felt that good energy and that good vibe from you too. So yeah, it was awesome. And I really enjoyed myself too at that podcast, Podfest.
Yeah, Podfest. Yeah. So real quick, just for fill in my background on you guys a little bit. How long have you been podcasting? And at what point were you at when we met at Podfest? And this goes back to January this year, 2018.
Yeah, I would say we've been podcasting for a little over a year now with our podcast, The Dynamic Lifestyle. And yeah, it's just been awesome. It's just, we're constant students to the game with that. We're always trying to just find out, different innovative ways to make the show better, bring a better experience to the listener. And, that's why we went to Podfest too, just to kind of learn more concepts and learn from the pros. And it's been awesome. We really enjoy it. We love interviewing people. I think it's a form of, personal growth where we interview somebody and there's always a great takeaway.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, and that's an interesting insight into it. That's why I love talking to you guys, because you get all this stuff. Is that for the podcaster themselves? It is an opportunity for personal growth, because it's a challenge to you or challenge to me as I'm doing it to really think about the person that I'm interviewing and how it relates to my life and how it relates to the listeners. The people out there that are listening. So, yeah, it's just a great experience. So, okay, cool. So a little bit over a year. Yeah, I'm a little bit under a year. I'm coming up on a year, I think, in May or June this year. So in a little while, it'll be a year for me. Yeah, so cool. So at that time, I was thinking that, these guys are like, kicking ass, and they're personal trainers, and they're really like getting a lot out of life. I didn't realize at the time, though, that you were building this bigger business and that the business is now taking on a focus of coaching for personal trainers, which I think is very interesting and very unique. So can you describe what the dynamic duo training is and what your coaching part is?
Absolutely. So Jim, this is Chris, the twin that's, he's older by a minute, and he's been talking the whole time here. So I'm finally getting to shed my light here.
All right, man, bring it.
So yeah, with our business, it's funny, if we kind of rewind the clock, we used to be personal trainers, like in the trenches for 3 years. And then after that, we started doing online personal training, which, was something that was new probably about 7 years ago. So we've been at it about 7 years. Mm-hmm. And then recently this past year, we just kind of figured out, like, we've invested into a lot of mentors, a lot of personal growth, marketing, sales, a ton of conferences. We have a ton of business knowledge just from the experience and mentors and stuff. So Why not help out personal trainers that want to sit there and go online? Because a lot of personal trainers have absolutely no idea, how to go from in the trenches to online, build a business, systems, and actually make a living off of it.
I see. Well, you know what? I know that rings true because, in preparing for this interview, I've been working out all week with a personal trainer and trying to work on my diet just so I was in shape enough to talk to you guys. But no, I'm kidding. But I have worked with personal trainers before, and I've seen some of them get burnt out, and that they'll do it for 3 or 4 years, and they sort of kind of hit a max ceiling, and it's taking up a lot of their time, and they kind of think like, well, it's not hitting the income levels that they were thinking that it was going to hit, and they're not enjoying it anymore. You know what I mean? They kind of hit that wall, and they kind of leave the business. I know a couple of friends of mine that are like, hey, they just went and took regular business jobs. They were personal trainers for me that I really liked, and they were successful, but I don't think they could figure out how to grow it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. That's kind of what happened to us, for 3 years. I mean, we were working like almost close to 80 hours a week, just taking on so many clients, and you just don't have enough mental capacity and physical capacity to sit there and work 80 hours a week like that and then try to live a normal lifestyle and then try to, grow in other areas. So that was kind of where we just had to just put our foot down and say, you know what, like, we're going to scale this back a little bit and slowly build the online business. And when we get to a point to where we feel like we can, really make a good income and impact on the online business, we can definitely leave the personal training side of things.
I see. So how did you get the idea or the notion that you could take it online and that you could be successful doing it? Did you have like a model in mind? Because I don't think at this time a lot of people were doing it. There's still not a lot of people doing it. What was your reference point, at that point?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we got the concept from one of our past coaches and mentors. So if I could take it back 5 years,
okay,
we made that kind of jump to hire an online personal trainer. And, we're kind of skeptical about it because we're like, oh, well, how's this going to work online?
I see.
And we just got a lot of his concepts, on how he did it. But then we also really paid attention and saw all his blind spots on what he was lacking. And then we were just kind of like, we had this huge epiphany where we're like, look, there's two of us. We can serve, double the clients. And there's a lot of things that our coach is doing wrong to where we could, add in those great benefits and elements to where we could just really wow people and build great relationships just with these people, from all over the world. So that's what really sparked our interest and had us go online, because we saw kind of that gap that needed to be filled.
I see. So you actually hired an online personal trainer for yourselves to like improve your own training and concept and just learn more information, right?
Absolutely.
Wow, that's cool. And then once you saw it, you're like, wait a second, maybe you could pivot your business, or you saw maybe where there were some shortcomings maybe that you would have liked to have, right?
Yeah, and then after that, we hired two other, online trainers too, because we wanted to see their coaching style. And then again, just kind of be in that student type of role where we're just, really watching every little thing and picking apart, what he's doing right, what he's doing wrong, and what we could ultimately blend into our coaching and our business.
I see. Oh, well, that's a great approach or a great takeaway just now that I'm listening to it in terms of, sizing up. If you have a notion to go into a business, even, like try to have that same experience of the business. You know what I mean? Like reach out and find someone and see what the pros and cons are and see where the real value lies, where you think it lies, and see where their opportunities are. So that's pretty cool. Okay, I didn't know why you guys decided to pivot or whatever. I can understand totally getting to the burnout stage of, working a lot of hours, personal one-on-one. It's hard to be on with a client, all day long, right?
Oh, yeah.
And when you're training, you kind of have to be on. You have to be that up guy, like you're really encouraging, and, it's kind of a performance aspect in a way. So cool.
Yeah, I mean, you're literally there to inspire and motivate those people.
Yeah, right. You better be up. You can't be like a bummer. That would be like maybe a Saturday Night Live character or something. The depressed personal fitness coach or something like that. But so, well, thinking about this, let's rewind a little bit further, because you guys weren't always into fitness, and I think you guys are in the Southern California area now, right? But you're originally from Northern California. Can we roll back your story a little bit and tell me about how you got into it? Because I know there's some mindset stuff here that's really important that I'd like to cover. That I really realized when I was actually digging into your book, which I have right here, The New Era of Fitness. So we can get into that. But the beginning of it tells your story and demonstrates the importance of what kind of mindset and the way to kind of attack and approach life, which I think when you're looking to really change yourself around, like taking on personal training to tackle your health is a big thing just personally to make a decision about. So let's talk about kind of how you got started in your family background.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I can kind of rewind the clock, this happened at age 17. Mm-hmm. So this was about 14, 15 years ago, and it was 3 nights before Christmas. And we grew up in kind of like a picture perfect life within a family as well, too. My mother, was a stay-at-home mom. My father was a correctional officer at San Quentin State Prison. So he was a great role model. He just really always instilled work ethic and just, to really tackle our goals in education growing up. And, we just grew up in, like I said, a picture perfect lifestyle. And, 3 days before Christmas, we get a knock on the door from a chaplain and a California Highway Patrol officer. And normally that's not a good combination if you think about it. So I remember waking up and I literally thought I was in a dream and having just a nightmare, but I never woke up from that dream / nightmare. And I remember just, walking towards the front door and I saw my mom on her knees, just, screaming bloody murder. And that's because they had told her that my father passed away in a car accident, that he fell asleep behind the wheel and he died instantly. So right then and there, our entire life was just kind of like just crushed, just like a cookie. The whole thing crumbled. And from there, my mother, turned to alcohol and antidepressant pills, and she lost her mother 3 months after that due to cancer. So it was like a ton of bricks hit my mother. And I feel like to a certain extent that we lost part of our mother, because she went through so much and she was just battling so much adversity and so much grief to where, we were kids. We were 17, 18 years old, and we lost our role model to where we had no guidance, no direction, and we were angry, rebellious, and we were just lost. We went through some very, very dark times, getting into trouble with the law, just going down the wrong, path in life. And I remember I'd come home and I'd see my mom just passed out with pill bottles, with alcohol bottles, and she would just lash out on us. So it was tough. It was really tough, from the age of 18 to 24, just battling life. And, we were still going to school. I don't know how we made it through and graduated with our bachelor's degree. Right. I think we just did that because it was a huge goal that our father wanted for us. And after that, Chris and I just kind of got fed up with it, just that life we were living, that toxic environment we were around. And we just kind of had a really heart-to-heart conversation with ourselves. And we said, look, like, we either change this now or we keep going down this dark path. And we just kind of made an agreement to, just change it up and just go down, and just try to just get out of that huge, huge dark hole. And, then we came across our mentor, like I mentioned earlier, through a magazine, and we hired him, and he really changed our life just because, we saw the gym as kind of like an outlet for our pain, grief, and stress. And
oh, I see. Okay. So were you working out at this point, or you weren't into fitness at this point at all?
No, we weren't really into fitness. We grew up playing sports. So
okay.
We're still into athletics and everything, but the gym really was kind of like a no-go. But after that, we met our mentor, Dr. Layne Norton, and he kind of changed our ways of thinking and got really fascinated with, body composition, exercise science, physiology, how the body changes. And it was kind of just, we just kept our foot on the gas pedal from there.
Wow, that's so interesting that, I can see where you kind of get to, rock bottom through this experience. I mean, there's got to be a lot of just, anger and rage and frustration, and you can see how it's affecting your mother and other people around you, as well as yourself, of course. And so that's cool to that's probably just your survival skills saying, hey, we got to do something here. We got to change this up, or we're going to go down the right path. But finding this mentor, I think, is a real key idea. I don't know if did you appreciate that, like, at the time when you decided, well, let's reach out and try something different. Let's move in a positive direction. Did you grasp that, hey, this mentor situation is working, or this is cool, or what did you think about it initially?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think we grasped that concept till probably like 3 to 5 years after that. I don't think we realized kind of like what was going on at that time, with it, and how powerful it was to have a mentor. And that's why right now we're so big on mentors and coaches, and we get questions every day, just like what people should do, how do they get their business going and overcome adversity. And we tell them, man, like, invest in a coach, or seek a mentor out there, because it's so powerful to have them guide you, because they've made mistakes already. And they're there to kind of, pick you up, when you're down, and answer your questions and bring your spirits back up and everything like that. So I just, that's why we're so huge on mentors and coaches. We really are.
Yeah, I had that feeling, just kind of talking to you guys and, reading through your book and seeing some of the references that you make about people that you've reached out to and had mentor relationships with. And I think it's really powerful too, because it can accelerate you, and it really helps with your mindset. That's the key to me, is that when you are talking to someone who's done something or has gone down the path that you want to go, it becomes more real in your mind. And when you're in your own little environment of your own home or your own, small town or whatever it might be, sometimes it's hard to, you can have this grandiose vision of, I'd love to be this guy someday, or I'd love to do that, but it's just a fantasy in your mind, and until you start talking to someone and get close to someone who is actually doing it, and you really see what it takes. Oh, this is what it takes. These are the skills I need to develop, so that's cool. So, all right, so you start with this mentor, and so you guys start getting in shape, right? Did you have a concept, or did it take a while for you to think like, hey, maybe we can make a business of this, or go into personal training as your career? I mean, you went to college, but what were you thinking when you graduated?
Yeah, I mean, like what happened was like, we hired the mentor, and then we were still in college and we were doing like business communications. But what happened was we just developed this huge excitement and passion within fitness, and it just pretty much overrided everything that we were set out to do as far as like going to college and being, in business and communications and stuff like that. So we knew like right after, we graduated with our degree, because we only pretty much had like a year left, that after that we were going to sit there and take full advantage of the fitness industry. And that's why we became personal trainers, got all of our certifications, hired more coaches, and then really went hard into the whole online side of things. But the thing is, though, is right out of college, like, we still had to work jobs, for about 2 full years. We still had to work 40-hour-week jobs and, build the business slowly, still do personal training on the side. I mean, it wasn't just this easy path where we just said, look, we're graduating, we're building an online business, and all sunshine and roses and all that stuff.
Right? No, of course not. I mean, it's like, it took you 10 years to get that overnight success,
Exactly.
Yeah. People don't see the hard work in the background. Well, that's cool. So early on, it sounds like you had this vision of that you wanted to build it into a larger thing, even a little bit larger than just a personal training business, let's say. Is that fair to say, or not? Or you were just thinking, oh, I can see I can be a personal trainer now. I really like it, and that's what I'm going to do. And obviously, you have you guys are great partners to do it and motivate each other. So you were doing that. But when did you get the notion? How many years into it, or how long were you into it where you got the notion that you could take it online?
Yeah. Well, let's set the record straight that I'm the CEO and Eric's actually my assistant.
Oh, okay.
He brings me the coffee and all that,
Right. I'm sure.
I'm just kidding.
These guys are both killers, man. I'm telling you. When we release the episode, you'll see a great picture of them, and
yeah,
you'll see what's going on.
I would say about maybe 3-4 years in, we kind of made this pact to where, we said, look, we need to do something a little bit different as far as just the online coaching. Like, we need to scale this some way and expand it.
I see. Okay.
So what we did was we started attending business conferences, internet marketing conferences, all these different type of conferences outside of fitness, because the fitness industry didn't really offer anything like that as far as fitness business and development and all that. So we had to go elsewhere, and we started learning different concepts from all these different industries and seeing like the opportunities that we could have within our fitness business, so that opened up like our vision to just being grander and just, offering more things, automating more things, creating sales funnels, different things like that. So right. That's really kind of where it was, after about 3 or 4 years attending all these conferences, hiring mentors, being in masterminds, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, and one key point that Chris left out along that way was we actually hired a life coach for a year.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Oh, yeah. And then we were just really close-minded to it before. It's like, when you think about it, it's like, wow, do I really need a life coach, someone to coach me on life? But,
right.
It was just one of those things where like, you know what, let's have that growth mindset. Let's just, give it a shot. And honestly, I mean, this guy really just helped us so much, just enhance our mindset, even had us, develop just better habits as, an entrepreneur, just everything from a day-to-day basis, and just really work on ourselves and take a hold of just, our morning routines every day, so then we can go and serve other people. I mean, and this guy was amazing. So that was a key point along the journey that just made us really just change our mindset and just help us as better, business owners and entrepreneurs.
Right. Well, what you just said 2 really key things there. And one that I've been doing the last couple of years is searching out and attending different conferences in different industries, like away from your industry. Yeah. So I as a consultant, I've just needed to do this just for different clients that I work with. And it's like, I kind of learn a little bit more about this or a little bit more about that. But I've been doing that lately the last couple of years, and I think it's one of the I guess, fastest and most interesting ways to, reinvent yourself is to figure out and leverage and have different insights because if you're in a real technical oriented engineering industry, maybe go to a business conference. If you're just only a business person and don't understand the technologies, maybe you need to go to a technology conference. And when you do that, all of a sudden you separate yourself from the rest of the pack, and you're this guy that has this cross-pollination about them that's like, wow, this guy knows a lot about a lot, and that was the feeling I got from you guys when I was talking to you. I'm like, oh, these guys are personal trainers. I have this image in my mind of what a personal trainer is and what they might know. And then I thought, oh, but they know business. Oh, but they have a great mindset. You've really kind of explored these things, and having your mind open to a life coach. I think that's kind of jumping another level. Like you said, it sounds a little bit goofy on the surface, right?
Right.
Or like, going and getting, counseling even, if you're just going through a rough time, you're thinking like, I don't need that. I can power through, or, I'm smarter than these other people or whatever. But, that's not really what it's about. It's about your experience.
Yeah. And just to add to that point, I mean, we have so many blind spots, and we need other people to see those blind spots.
Right. That's the key. So very interesting. I love to hear that from you guys. And I'm pretty good at kind of, sizing up people and sourcing people as part of what I do in my consulting that I do. And so it was apparent right away when I talked to you guys. I'm like, these guys are interesting. They're not just your average dudes, and I can see why. And it makes sense that you reached out and had all these experiences. So okay.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries, man. So you reached out, and you have this great, interesting growth mindset, and you're learning these business skills. Okay. So now you're throwing this business, the coaching part of personal fitness together. So tell me how that's going. What are you offering? Who's kind of the clients that you reach out to? Who's kind of benefiting from all of this stuff?
Yeah. So, at first we actually attracted a lot of, like bikini competitors, figure competitors, natural bodybuilders.
Oh, okay.
And that's kind of the whole way it took us, for about 3, 4, 5 years. But lately, I mean, we've been kind of getting more just like, regular general population, lifestyle type of demographic, and then moms that just kind of want to get their groove back, and everything like that, get back into shape, and then also just kind of expanding out to just helping entrepreneurs too, because we're entrepreneurs, we live and breathe this lifestyle, so we can definitely help out other entrepreneurs, and we see kind of like the bad habits that they have as far as going to all these conferences and being in these masterminds. So it's actually pretty diverse, man. I wish I can sit here and be like, well, it's this specific niche and so detailed, you know what I mean? But
right.
It's harder than people think to really narrow it down on a niche, especially in fitness, So I think what it's done, though, is it's actually really made us good coaches, because we've worked with such a diverse type of, clientele and just different people with just different backgrounds and just all this stuff. And it's just really made us, better coaches overall to be able to serve more people.
I see. Did you notice a change or difference when you started really doing more of the online stuff, like I see you've got a bunch of, like a YouTube channel, a bunch of YouTube videos, just things out there that naturally might attract a larger audience, not so niche down, a bodybuilder competitor kind of audience, but more of a general audience.
Yeah, exactly. And then I don't know if you saw the videos that Eric's doing his eyebrows in.
Oh no!
On YouTube.
Oh no! I didn't see those ones. I'm gonna have to check them out, man.
This guy's giving me low blows left and right.
I love it, man.
No, but to kind of answer your question though, like, if this is if any aspiring online coaches are listening, or personal trainers, like if I could rewind the clock back, I probably would have made it more strategic and specific like that, talking to a specific niche, because I think that is the way to go, especially if you're trying to carve your own niche in a saturated market. But I didn't know any better. That was my fault. And it's because first couple of years, we were stubborn to hire, coaches and get advice from marketing coaches, sales, positioning, all these type of things. You know what I mean? So we kind of like bit the bullet and figured it out on our own. But that's something I definitely don't advocate going forward, though.
I see. Well, thanks for sharing that, because it's not all successes. It's a little hiccups and failures. So that's a great example of one right there. So, well, that's so interesting. And thanks for sharing all this stuff, because I felt this about you guys, that that you're really into the entrepreneurship part of it, and you're into serving and, you know, growing your business, of course, but serving other people. And I thought that was interesting. So I want to get that message out that, you know, if you're just an entrepreneur, you're really trying to maybe just work on your mindset, you know, these guys are interesting guys to talk to, because you have the nutrition background, you have this personal training background, which really focuses on behavior, changing your behavior. Maybe you could talk a little bit about, you know, behavior modification, or just kind of how the repetitive routines really impact your thought process.
Yeah, and even just to add to the point about the entrepreneur thing, is just that, you know, I mean, so many people put health on in the back burner, and everyone's chasing the shiny objects of, you know, the ROI, you know, and what's going to get me, you know, what's going to create more wealth? How am I going to scale my business? How am I going to do this, that? But it's like, you know, why not focus on your health first, and then everything else is going to synergistically just kind of flow and be so much better. You know, it's like people think that once they become wealthy or they've hit that success point, that they can kind of go back and be like, oh, well, okay, now I'll take care of my health. But it really doesn't work like that. So that's why we're just so big on just, you know, identifying, you know, just that health component and putting that like just right at the forefront of everything and just making it go. And the mindset component as well, too. I mean, look at social media, for example. I mean, there's so much distractions. I mean, there's so much people comparing themselves. There's just so much false advertisements about, you know, fitness and body composition. And, you know, it's like everybody's just posting those sexy pictures of themselves, the six packs. And it's just like, no, why not chase the six pack in the brain first, then chase that six pack on the exterior?
And they kind of answer your question too, Jim, though, about like the behavioral part and the habits. I think what a lot of people do is they go into, you know, fitness just with unrealistic expectations. And, you know, this is something we talk about in our book, The New Era of Fitness, where we kind of look at fitness almost like a video game. So you have to start off with like kind of the beginner stage. And as soon as you acquire like the habits and the systems and a little bit of success with that, you level up to the intermediate stage. And then, you know, the same thing goes to get to the advanced stage. And it's okay to always, you know, it's not, you don't always have to be at the advanced stage with stuff. You can always go back to the beginner stage and intermediate stage, because 365 days out of the year within fitness is very, very hard to be 100% on. You know, there's stuff that happens in life with tragedies, stress, traveling, all this type of stuff. So you got to be able to know like when to turn it on and turn it off, like within your fitness journey, you know. And I think a lot of people just they make it a lot harder than it really is with these unrealistic expectations. And it really just starts with just kind of just like, you know, the beginner's part of just basic habits within fitness and nutrition. And you just build upon that with your lifestyle, your preferences, your goals. And that's really all it is. You know, I know it's easier said than done, but I just think people just make it way too hard and complicated. So thus they just throw in the towel and just don't even want to do it.
Right. Well, I think that your guys' focus on the mindset and behavior is really interesting, because I think there's so much technical information out there and real high-level expertise on, you know, well, here's a training program or here's a nutritional program and all this kind of stuff. But it can be overwhelming if that's not your natural, you know, behavior patterns to do any of it, you know? So it's like, what can speak to me? That's what's way beyond my even normal thought process of to sit down and look at a nutritional guide. You know what I mean? Like, you have to do some work up front to put yourself in the mind frame to even be open to looking at the nutritional guide. And I think that's the stuff that you guys are really understand and can be good at as well, which can help you when you're just trying to pivot and reinvent yourself, maybe change careers or start your own business and those kind of things. So that's why I was like, oh, these guys are perfect to be on the show, because I think everybody can learn a lot from your personal journeys, but also lean on your expertise in that regard. So tell me a little bit more about like we mentioned the book a couple times, but when did the book come out? And I saw on your website that you've got a few other things out there as well. So how did you get started writing a book, or what was the motivation for it on the book side?
Yeah, so the book came out probably like a year and a half ago. And really like the motivation with that was just probably just like close to a decade of just all of the experience, you know, working with over 1,000 clients, just, you know, everything we pretty much have been through the past 10 years, whether it's fitness, you know, personal growth, you know, overcoming adversity, everything, you know. And that's why we didn't solely focus on just fitness within this book and make it another nutrition book where it's nothing but like nutrition or fitness. You know, we called it The New Era of Fitness because there's 5 elements in that we really truly believe in and stand behind, you know, with our community and our clients. And that's to really have a flexible exercise, flexible nutrition, mindset, personal development, and lifestyle. So if you intertwine all 5 of those elements into your life, man, your fitness journey is going to be on another level compared to just going in there, just always, putting fitness on a pedestal or having an obsession within fitness, and then that other areas in your life completely lack, which we see all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, just for the listeners out there, these guys sent me a free copy, which I really appreciate. And they signed the inner cover, which kind of surprised me when I got it. I was just like, "Whoa, hey, that's cool, man!" So I got my own personal signed copy. So I really
were you able to read it? Because
kind of.
Eric has second graders handwriting, so
guilty as charged.
His handwriting looks like mine. I think mine's a little worse actually, but
mine's pretty bad.
So
too,
no worries there. But I was like, oh, that was cool. That was a nice personal gesture. So I appreciate that. And wanted to say thanks. But so anyways, hey. Guys, we got a few minutes left here before we get out of here, but there's always a couple questions I like to ask everybody that's on the show lately, and one is now that you guys are exploring the online digital technologies and really opening your mindset and seeing what's out there in the world and realizing the opportunities that are out there, along with some of the struggles, is there something that you are really turned on by or struggling with when it comes to trying to integrate this new technical aspects into business and into leveraging in that around the world? Because now you're really going online.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question. And for me, Eric, I have something probably different than what Chris does, but for me, it's the Facebook advertisement, and it's a huge monster. And to me, it's just the algorithm's always changing, so that's really frustrating. Mm-hmm. You hear so much external wisdom on how you should be doing something or what not, or what you shouldn't be doing. So it's very conflicting. It's almost causes paralysis by overanalysis.
Right.
So for me, I think that's one of the very challenging parts of the digital marketing aspect today for myself and my business is really mastering that the Facebook ads and the science behind it, because I truly do think there's a science behind it. So that's mine. I mean, I don't know about you, Chris.
I would say I'll go against the grain on this. I'll say more of a struggle. For me has been just trying to just bring things back more to human communication, because I think that over the past couple of years, a lot of people have used technology as a crutch. And a lot of people like hiding behind their keyboards, and they don't like that personal, human communication interaction. And
right.
I think we need to kind of bring it back to that. Like you see a lot of these online courses, and you see a lot of online coaching programs, but it's all just through email, through templates, all automated. And it's fine. It serves its purpose, but I'm trying to just figure out how do we, within our business model, within the coaching side, whether it's working with people or personal trainers, how do we bring it back more to a blend and a hybrid of, online and more of that human communication? Because I think it's huge, and I think it just stands out so much more than just everything being completely technology based.
Right. Well, yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I'm kind of trying to work on a hybrid kind of understanding or model myself of how to work with people or how to work with clients. So, now I do some things that are remote. My clients are on my, Gymnium Group business side are, some things I have to be there to do testing in the lab in person, but there's a lot of things that are, these guys are scattered all over the country and all over the world, the people I have to source and talk to. So yeah, it's a hybrid thing, I think, is the right, whatever that balance is, maybe, skewed to one side or the other for depending on your particular business, but I think the hybrid approach makes sense to me. So yeah, okay, cool. Well, that's just great understanding or insights for everybody to listen to in that regard. My next question is, as you're going along and you guys had this great transformation and you overcame this crazy thing that happened to your life, which everybody has challenges in life, and nobody's immune to challenges or tragedies, etc. It's going to happen in your life, but what are a couple things, maybe mindset-wise or routine-wise that help you, stay open-minded, that keep you going, that help you reinvent yourself, as you go?
Well, this is little brother talking right now. I know big brother's going to get pissed that I say this because he's probably going to have the same answer, but he's going to have to think of something different now.
It's okay. It's
okay. All right.
For me, man, what it all starts off with is the morning routine. I literally take out pretty much 2 hours of, the morning to work on myself before I answer any emails, check any social media, do anything for my business. And it's just an absolute game changer. It's like, I really look forward to that morning routine where I'm reading for a full hour. After that, I do, a stretch. I go out for a walk to walk the dog. I come back, make myself breakfast, listen to a podcast, and then I hop in the shower, and then I start working on, my work, my emails, my clients, and all that stuff. And that literally just primes my mindset for success and to be able to serve others, So I highly recommend implementing something like that.
Wow, that's interesting. And what are you reading? It's not work related. It's sort of personal development related, or just casual?
It's definitely
whatever?
work related. It's definitely intentional. So,
okay.
For the first 30 minutes, I'll read any like a manuscript or something, the scientific literature on training or nutrition, because I always want to stay on top of that and keep my sword sharp. And after that, it's something with personal growth, whether that's, business, or if it's just something on the other side of like personal development or something. But yeah, every single day, for an hour.
Gotcha. But it's not like a thing, a burning fire that you got to, pay attention to. Gotcha.
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, and I guess for myself, since Chris stole the fire on that one, I'll go with two of my non-negotiables. And the first one is waking up every day and making that choice to be happy. Just because, and to be happy and check my attitude, just because there's so many little things that can just throw you off on a day-to-day basis, to where it actually will take your power for the day and put you in that bitter mood and just give off that bad energy to people. And for me, it starts just, in the morning and just checking my ego, checking my attitude, and just being happy and making that a choice. I think too many people let the dumbest things get to them and just ruin their state of mind and happiness on a day-to-day basis. Mm-hmm. My second non-negotiable would be just, physical activity, because that is what makes me happy, whether that's going to the gym, going for a bike ride, going on a walk, playing basketball, doing some boxing, just kind of bringing my mindset back to, what I enjoyed doing as a kid. And, there's no reason that needs to stop now just because I'm an adult and I have more responsibilities. So I'm always trying to just, bring myself back to that, what do I enjoy? And I'm not going to let anything get in the way of that, because those are just my non-negotiables.
Dang, Big Brother brought the heat.
Yeah, man. I love that. Well, staying in touch with sort of, the core joy inside you when you were a kid, I think that's really important. For me personally, I do that I like working out. It helps me do that, but also through music. That's my big outlet that ends up being my meditation, playing music. But speaking of working out, since you guys are in the personal training business, how many hours do you spend working out a day or a week, or what's your training regimens like? Because you guys are in killer shape. I mean,
Oh, thanks. Appreciate that. And, we're just trying to lead by example, and not go too crazy with it and, get obsessed with it, because we could backtrack and do a whole entire story with that. But we just, we do resistance training anywhere from 4 to 5 times per week, and, try to keep it within, 60 to 90 minutes, depending on what our schedule is like. But I mean, just something that we've really bought into, a concept, and this is a great one for the listeners to always, remember, is an acronym called REF. Realistic, enjoyable, and flexible. So just making sure that our resistance training program is realistic. Most importantly, it's enjoyable and it's flexible. We're able to pivot and change things up.
I gotcha. Cool. Well, that's good, because that's, just a reminder, there's no free lunch. You guys are putting in the work, and it shows. Yeah. and it's great obviously for your clients that you're working with, and all the, kind of service you're offering out there. So, hey guys, Chris, Eric, thanks for being on the show. If people want to get in touch with you or learn more about you, how would they do that?
Yeah, Jim, I just want to say thanks so much for having us on the show. Great questions. Hopefully we delivered a ton of value, and just thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much. And then if they want to learn more about us, just head on over to theneweraoffitness.com, and, we're giving our book out for free. And, social media is just Chris and Eric Martinez, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, yeah, you can find them if you just search that on YouTube. I know that works, and check them out at their website. So appreciate it, guys. Really enjoyed this, and it was great to reconnect with you guys. I really, really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
All right. Thank you for listening to Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast. If you want to hear more, join our mailing list at jimjimsreinventionrevolution.com. See you next time, and remember, the revolution has just begun. So dig in, embrace the process of reinvention, and start realizing the success you've always dreamed of.